Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My 6-week Reta experiment is over. I dosed 1 milligram every 4 days for 40 days, and here's how my last week went. But first, I want to shout out Ross from Fit Founder, a YouTube channel dedicated to improving fitness and burning fat, building muscle, and better nutrition, and is giving out information about different peptides like GLP-1s to create better health outcomes for others. And with that said, let's get to this week. So as you might recall, I ended last week, week 5, at 145.4 pounds, and my weight loss slowed to about 1 pound lost in that last week. And this week, I dosed 2 more times. The 9th injection was on Monday morning, and the 10th injection was on Friday morning, both at about 7 a.m. That 10th was on my 40th day, as planned. And just a reminder, the purpose of this 10 milligram Reta experiment wasn't to lock myself into a dose or frequency. It was to play it by ear, to go find a sweet spot for my fat loss for myself. And basically, I just wanted to find the optimal fat loss zone with the least side effects, particularly the negative ones. It just turned out that the 1 milligram every 4 days was perfect for me. Negative side effects didn't really kick in until about week 3, and they weren't that bad, all things considered. I managed to eat twice daily, every day this week, though a couple days I had a really big meal for lunch, and I ended up eating about like half of it, and then I ate the rest of it for dinner. So that's kind of how I paced myself. I realized if I can't eat everything, well, leftovers are a thing, and maybe that can substitute for the next meal. So I do notice over time I'm still feeling hungry, but I'm craving a small meal typically, and I have very rarely any food noise, but it's completely manageable and normal. I never overeat in any meal, and if I tried, negative effects that I would experience would end up being worse. So I just don't try to overcome my satiety signals. And one thing I've noticed this 6th and final week of my Reta experiment is that my side effects have basically stabilized. I get a touch of them a day after I inject, and that's when I experience a peak in serum level. But 3 days later, when it fades enough, the hunger that does come back really isn't that bad, and really there's not that much of a difference now. There's definitely a steady state that's going on. There's a flow state, you might say. But I haven't legitimately experienced any real cravings or food noise in probably 3 weeks. I do think my 1x4 schedule, where I take, the 1 milligram every 4 days, has proven itself to be optimal for me where I'm at in my life. And as a first-time peptide user who wasn't overweight in the first place, though I was on the cutting edge at like 24 BMI or something like that, I was skinny fat, and I've honestly just experienced extremely good results with side effects that are understandable for my situation, and the pros vastly outweigh the cons for me. This has been the best fat loss experience I've ever had, and I've had several over decades now, and it's not remotely close. I've lost weight multiple times the hard way through diet and exercise, counting calories, tracking macros, and dialing in my nutrition. And that's allowed me to maintain my normal weight, most recently at 155 to 160 pounds for several years, like 2018 through 2025. But I've always had a problem getting below 150, or if I get below it, it's brief, and then I rebound back up to 150. It's just because my appetite has been keeping pace with my metabolism and my activity level. And I've done a lot of research on fat loss peptides and other peptides, and I really do think at this point, Reta is probably more preferable for people like myself who aren't severely obese, or if they are obese, maybe it's the first time using any sort of a fat loss peptide. It's just a slightly different demographic for those people than someone like myself. And I think that over time, we're going to see these new peptides come out that do different things, or combinations of different things, or different blends that are going to, kind of target people where they're at, in their fat loss journey. I do know that people who've used other GLP-1s like semaglutide and tirzepatide, those have better appetite suppression for them, but the digestion rate is about the same here for Reta. In fact, I think it's a little bit stronger than that of the others. I know there's sort of a synergistic effect between appetite and digestion, but it's not one-to-one, at least in my experience so far. But the added fat metabolism of Retatrutide with the glucagon agonist, I think, has a counterbalancing effect for the slightly lower appetite. And I think it's more of a performance type of a peptide, just in my relative experience and through my study and research of this. But in my case, even without exercising, I don't think I've lost much muscle, probably a handful of ounces, relatively speaking, out of all the lean mass that I've lost. But this was planned, it's part of the experiment, and I knew going into this what I was getting into, and I've got a plan afterwards, which I'll get into later. But anyways, I think the key is for everyone to find the right dosage and frequency to get them as many of the positive effects that they can get with as few negative effects. And there's probably an optimum serum level worth pursuing for each and every person. And people who start out with a more conservative approach will likely start with smaller doses and learn the right frequency for it, and then they can titrate up to where they need to find the right, weekly strategy, or whether they're going to deal with dose splitting, etc. But I'm hitting my target weight after only a single 10 milligram bottle is used up after 40 days. So let's see where I weighed in on this Sunday, 42 days after I started. I thought I might get as low as 140 pounds when I started this, experiment, but I ended up at 143.4 pounds, this Sunday, which is fine. And it's much better than I would have ever achieved by myself without Reta, without doing some extreme dieting and cutting and like cardio and a bunch of weight training and stuff. Not that that isn't bad, but I'm not at the point where I can do that, given how much of a deficit I'm at with my strength and endurance and mobility. So basically I lost 2 more pounds than last Sunday, and I think that's a good place to be. So I'm going to wrap up my 6-week fat loss journey with this video. But before I go, I want to let you know what's in store for me and this channel. So my goal now is to maintain my current body weight of roughly 140 to 145 pounds. If I go below 140, I will work to gain weight. If I go above 145, I'll work to lose weight. But I'm now focusing on this range so that I can become more fit, and I want to improve my health. This is good for me. I've already got very skinny bones, light lean mass anyways, but that's the next thing I'm going to work on. And I realize a lot of my issues are caused by other things more than excessive fat loss around my organs. The visceral fat that I have is an issue that I needed to take care of, and that was my priority for this experiment, and it is a success in my book. But the problem I also have is the lack of muscle, and I also have very low endurance. In fact, I would say my endurance is worse than my strength, and that's saying something. But I also have poor mobility, despite having good flexibility. That's just because I'm weak, and I just don't have, the coordination that I need to have at my age. So I'm going to get with my primary care physician, and I'm going to get some blood work done. And I'm also looking into some wellness centers nearby as well as online to help me go forward, because a lot of your primary physicians are not interested in things like peptides, and a lot of the medications that they would even suggest would be supplements or stuff that's like, I don't know, metformin or, whatever, those kind of things that I don't think have stood the test of time compared to the emerging medicine that's coming out. So I want to be prepared. So I'm looking at all those options, and I'll come out with videos, kind of detailing that. But one of the things that I've noticed looking at symptoms in terms of what I've got, I think I've got low testosterone. I need to have those tested as well, and I'm considering taking other peptides to help me with regard to improving my lean mass, as well as building strength and stamina. But just to be clear, I'm not remotely interested in taking exogenous TRT or HGH. I mean, that's something I could theoretically do through a doctor, but I don't want to go down that road. That's just not something I envision for myself. I'm not here to knock people that do that, but that's not what I'm here for. If somehow magically were to change, I'll let you know. I've never been a fan of people who say emphatically they're never going to do something, and they go ahead and do it, and you notice, hey, they've gained a lot of muscle and their voice is deepened. What's going on? That's not going to happen here. So anyways, the plan here is maybe peptides, wellness centers, and primary care physicians, or maybe specialists based on if I have anything that I need to know about. But it doesn't make sense for me to do a lot of crazy stuff without getting blood work done. And I am getting a DEXA scan done in early January, or theoretically early December. I need to see how my schedule susses out. I've got a lot going on in my life right now. But I want to say one thing that's very important. good news. I have already started going back to my old gym. I used to work out there from 2011 to 2014. I went through a previous fat loss journey back then that was very successful. And I've got a friend going with me on one of those nights, Tuesday night. My friend Sean and I are going there, and we're going to get on the treadmill, do fat loss, you know, for 15, 20 minutes, whatever, as a warm-up. And then we're going to do the usual stretching and stuff. And then we have 4 exercises planned out. I'm going to get into that in another video. I'm not going to worry about that here. But I've already got exercises planned out. We've already had a few workout sessions so far, and I am loving it. So this is taking place after, you know, the Reta journey has ended, this little experiment. But moving forward, I really like the way things are going. And yet one more thing, I keep thinking about stuff that's not on script, but I've got nagging soreness in my shoulder from playing disc golf the last 7 years. That's due to bad form. That's something I've been working on. I've improved it enough to where that's not really contributing to the issue now, but I think I kind of damaged it enough over the 7+ years of throwing in, with bad form, and I'm working on fixing that. So I don't want to just try to fix it and not fix my form. I need to get my form better, but that's outside the scope of this video or this channel. But I do know through research the last few months there are peptides that might help here with regard to this nagging injury. And I can either take them with other peptides in a stack or a blend, or I can take them individually. So that I'll be testing that out in the near future. I have to do more research to figure out what I'm going to do there, but you can likely expect more videos on that front in the future. But I am titrating off Reta, which sounds weird because I've just ended it, right? Well, instead of getting off of it cold turkey and letting Reta subside, you know, like there's going to be a little graphic I'll put here. That's what it would look like if I just stopped cold turkey. But I don't want to take that risk. So that'll be out of my system in 4 weeks, but I ended up buying one more bottle of Reta, and I am going to use that to prevent a rebound effect. It's super important that I maintain a set point. The reason why so many people rebound after taking GLP-1 medications is they don't take the time to get their diet in check. My diet is locked in. It's been locked in for years, but I'm worried that I will have a rebound effect, and I don't want to react negatively to it and then try to order Reta and blah, blah, blah. So I'm just telling you up front, I have another bottle, I ordered it, and I'm going to be titrating down. But let me tell you what I'm aiming for. I'm planning on 1 milligram every Monday morning. And then that's a once every 7 week schedule. And I'm going to see how that plays out. If I'm still losing weight, I'm going to back off from that, and I may go dose down to a smaller dose, maybe half a milligram once a week or something. I will figure that out. That's not for something for me to work out now because I don't know how this is going to suss out. But as much as I want to build muscle on a slow bulk, I want to recomp for a little bit. I'm 54 years old, guys. I can't build muscle fast. Even the slowest bulk would give me more fat gain than muscle gain. Not without steroids and stuff, and obviously I'm not going to do that kind of stuff. So as a precaution, I bought that bottle, that vial, bottle, whatever, of Reta, and I'm going to drop down to that initial schedule, see how it plays out, and we'll go from there. And I can send you guys updates. I'll make updates videos as that goes along. But my goal is no longer weight loss or even fat loss outside of gaining muscle, and the fat is lost that way. I still want to get lean. I like to see myself at a 12 to 15% body fat percentage at the 140 plus weight range, and that's basically it. Always have a backup plan, folks. Don't just plan, have a backup. Redundancy is key. I live that in my life, a lot of technical means because of who I am as an IT guy, but I live that life in other ways. Anyways, that's going to do it for this video. I do have more content coming up. I'm going to try to get it out weekly, so please subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.